There is blind justice, and then there is trading justice, so that you can finally afford to get that laser eye surgery. Not only will people find you more attractive once you ditch those old glasses, you'll be able to see your charts better. That's what we call win-win. Speaking of winning, it's time for a little trading justice. Brought to you by TackleTrading.com.
Matt Justice for Trading Justice podcast here with Tackle Trading's Gino Poor. We're doing a little special recording for you guys here this evening. Tim's going to be joining us here in just a little bit. With Tackle Trading, we have this monthly webinar / coaches show that we like to call Happy Hour. It's Happy Hour for monthly expiration, and so we're going to record it for the podcast. That's something we'll do every now and then, I would say, but since we're doing a little ghost run with the coaches show here, we thought we might as well double up and send it out to the 450 downloads last podcast. We're starting to get up there, buddy.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. It's amazing that we're starting to get popular because you know what? This is just downright fun, Matt.
You aren't lying. And I'll tell you, I remember the very first podcast Tim and I did just about a month and a half ago or so. Maybe it's a little bit more than that. But I remember Tim saying, hey, listen, how many listeners do you think we got? 2, 3? And I said, you know what? That's a start, buddy. And we're going to grow this podcast. We're going to grow Tackle Train. We're going to grow this to new levels, buddy, to just absolutely amazing levels. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to give people an opportunity to learn how to control their financial lives. And one of the things that I want to talk about in the first go around here, Gino, is your scouting report. Every week. You put together a little bit of a scouting report to where you're basically talking about some of the things that you're focused on as a trader out there. Some of the things you're focused on both from a bull and a bear standpoint. And let's go ahead and look at a couple of those stock picks from last week. First one was Sherwin-Williams. Now, Sherwin-Williams, everybody knows it, nice little paint company. Talk to me about why you like Sherwin-Williams.
Well, Matt, I'm glad you brought this up. And real quickly, again, happy Expiration Friday to you and everybody. I guess if you've been trading as long as you and I've been in the business almost 17 years. Yeah. And I don't know if it's me, Matt, but you've been in quite a few years. I mean, you've been trading options for, I don't know how many years now.
9 years.
9 years. Is it me, or does it feel like ever since you have option expiration in your life, the month goes by pretty fast, right?
It does. And, like a lot of people, they will center their calendar around the first of the month, right? And right. Our calendar is always centered around the third Friday of every month. And it's just the way traders are. The first of the month means nothing to us. It's the third of the month. The third Friday of every single month, that's the expiration date. And that's why we're calling this Happy Hours, because, it's a celebration of another month of options that we've let expire and made money on.
Yeah, and what's funny is it becomes so important in your life, that date. Mm-hmm. First off, because you got money on the line. You got money on the line. Things happen on expiration. Is my options in the money? Are they out of the money? They can expire worthless. Which ones do I need to manage? Am I going to get a margin call? It's a big day in your life. And what's funny, Matt, when I first began on option expiration Friday, and this is a common amateur mistake, I used to take all my trades at expiration and then make a decision on that day. Mm-hmm. And then I realized that, you know what? I hardly have any of my trades going to expiration anymore. I'm closing out of them well beforehand.
Yeah, I was going to say, we celebrate expiration date because it's the end of a month. But out of, say you got, out of the total amount of percentage of your trades, whether it's 10, 20, 50, or 100, right? Whatever it is, how many of those trades do you actually allow to, and I say that, wholeheartedly, allow to actually get to the expiration?
Well, see, the only ones that I let get to expirations are the ones I sell. Like if I sell an option taking a credit, like a credit spread, a condor, a naked put, or I sell a call on my stock for a covered call. Anytime I'm selling, it's okay if they expire worthless, they're out of the money. But if they're in the money, you got to take action. And a lot of times, you got to roll, do some strategy to get out of that position, that kind of thing. But, a lot of times in this happens a lot when you're beginning and you start to get keen on it. If you buy a call and you're not winning and you're kind of losing, you're kind of waiting, you're like, you just need more time, and it's deteriorating and it's getting cheaper, and you're like, it's hardly worth anything. Sometimes you'll let it expire, you're long a call, and it's kind of a bummer when you do that. But what I found is, as you get more mature as a trader, and believe it or not, man, it took about 6 years to do this. Mm-hmm. I started realizing, you know what, this is a bad trade. I don't need to take this to expiration.
Yeah, exactly.
I can be out
well,
of this.
I'll tell you right now, as a buyer, I got about 8 specifically long trades right now, and they're all call options, some put options out there, they're all out in October, I'd say right now. And even though you got right around 60 days, 61, 62 days till October expiration, I'll bet you on those long trades, I'm out of those trades within the next week to 2 weeks. And then I'll find something else and I'll trade October or November. But I very rarely allow a long position to get to expiration. But on the sell side, even on the sell side, let's say you're out 30 days from now. Let's say we're selling something in September right now, and you got 30 days left till expiration date. And like on one of Tim's trades last week that he put out there on Tackle Trading, he basically did a bull put spread on Gilead Sciences.
I'm here. I can defend my own trade.
Finally, we can finally start. How was the supper you had with the old man?
No supper. I fixed him a quick hot dog. It was
that's supper for the old man. That's how he calls dinner.
Yeah, it was. He enjoyed it. So
it's like a rabid dog.
That's what I love about Dad. Just pops in for a few minutes randomly. It's
he
good.
Does.
Did he know it was Happy Expiration Friday?
Did you tell him it was Happy Expiration Friday?
He did not care.
It was funny because when you left, I was like, why don't you just put him on the podcast?
Oh, I'm sure he would be entertaining. I don't think he understands what a podcast is.
He understands what a headset is. And all you got to do is say, Dad, it's the mic.
Right.
You got to talk into
show him the mic.
That microphone.
I would love to bring Dad on a podcast, actually.
Don't let him get confused with the microphone on the podcast versus karaoke, because he'll start singing.
I'll guarantee he would start singing. There's a guarantee. If you said, "Hey, Dad, this is karaoke," he'd be like, he'd probably sing some, the Man in Black. No, he'd go the real Man in Black. He'd go Johnny Cash on you.
You don't even know him then.
No,
he would sing Marty Robbins or something like that.
He'd go a little older than that. That's true.
Yeah.
He would be great on the podcast, though. He would.
Oh, yeah.
He'd be entertaining, and, from a historical perspective, the guy's amazing. But let's get back to it. We were talking, Tim, about holding trades to expiration, basically. We were talking about the scouting report and why expiration date is so important and whatnot. And we were bringing up just a time when, like you say, you put a bull put spread on Gilead, right? And talk to me. There was one of your picks from last week, Gilead. First of all, talk to me about why Gilead Sciences was one of your picks last week.
Well, it was literally as simple as this. Part of my routine every day is I force myself to go out and find opportunities, regardless of the day. I just believe in that as a mindset. I believe in the idea that, okay, as a trader, I turn my computer on. I'm going to go find a trade. Mm-hmm. You have to trade. You have to stay active. And it was Wednesday, and I was sitting there, and I did not end up doing the bull put on this, Matt. I did the bull call on this. Okay. But I was analyzing on the blog post. I was analyzing the difference between bull put and bull call. Mm-hmm. That was the kind of the conversation. Thanks for reading it, by the way. That just lets me know that you're just not reading my blogs.
I saw the headline.
That's okay.
And wait a second. Hold on. And I got a Facebook message from our buddy Jeremy Olsen.
Yes.
And Jeremy we've known, he might hate me for this, but we've known Cecil for our whole lives. I mean, literally, he was our older brother's, one of his best friends, and just growing up with Jeremy. And Jeremy's an awesome guy, just an absolutely awesome guy. Well, he got caught on to trading from, maybe it was one of our posts, or maybe it was the website or the podcast or something, and he sends me an email the other day, and I want you're going to answer this email. It's on Facebook, actually. You're going to answer this on Facebook because you're the one who got him into the damn trade in the first place. And it wasn't on Gilead, okay? It was on.
You already asked me the question. I already know.
All right, okay, hold on. Let me kind of bring it up. He says, "Hey Matt, if you got some time, I have a quick question. I placed a paper trade on Priceline, bull call spread, 1325 by 1425. The 1325 plus one, and I'm like, yeah, Jeremy, I understand how it gets down like that. I was wondering if I should close the 1325 and accept the loss and sell more to make it up. Okay, now I like where his mindset is going there, but he's talking about Priceline because Priceline, when you made the trade, it was breaking out of 1300, correct?
Yes.
It was
yes.
a good little trigger on Priceline, and you did the 1325, 1425 call spread, and then it immediately starts going against you. Now, it hasn't hit your stop yet, so Jeremy's trying to think about how can he, number one, can he fix it? Can he repair it? Or should he just get out of it?
Well, I have already answered him, and I have it in front of me, word for word, what I answered him, and you can't see it. So why don't you do your due diligence? Just you answer him naturally, and then we'll compare to see what we said. What would you say? You can just say it right out loud into the podcast.
To a new trader, though? I would say if you close off the call side and keep a naked call side and add more naked call side, that's going to be a big margin.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably too big of a boy trade for Jeremy right now. And so what I would tell him to do is keep his stop where it's at, let the trade work out, and if it gets down to that 1260 level, just to close the entire trade.
And I told him I'd hold on to it for now unless it breaks below the low of today's candle. So if it holds 1265, I'd stay in the entire thing and wait it out.
So pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing is, and we get questions like this, and Gino, let's bring you in on this one, because I think this is an interesting topic. When a student wants to, and I'm getting some echo, that's not going to work for me.
Yeah, get the headset on. Shut it. Yeah, that's not going to work for anybody.
That's not going to work for me. We're going to need technology on this one.
No, the rest of us have technology. It's just for some reason you act like the old man sometimes.
Me?
Yes, you.
No, my headset's on. That echo wasn't me.
I think
that was Gino.
Oh, are we blaming Gino?
I am.
That's me?
Oh, yeah, Gino, that's you. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm not surprised either.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Are you using a headset or the mic through your laptop?
I'm using a mic that's plugged into my computer.
Yeah, it's coming. You got to get some earbuds in. Put a headset on, or it's going to echo the whole time.
Okay, 1 second.
And by the way, I never edit the podcast. By the way, ever.
Did you edit me leaving earlier?
I shouldn't have. I started over.
Oh, did you start the whole thing over?
Started the whole thing over.
Did you play Back in Black the right way this time?
Well, I don't know if I did or didn't, but
dude, you got to let Axl get out the first line. I mean, you can't cut the song off before he starts singing.
It's not Axl.
Oh, is it not?
Oh,
that's Guns N' Roses. Oh, you take my man card away.
Oh, Lord Almighty. You just went up from 57 to 68. I'm just throwing it out there for those of you who know what I just said to Tim. Good luck to you. But seriously, dude. Oh.
Who is the lead for AC/DC?
I don't know. I'm going to have to look that up now. But I certainly know it's not Axl Rose.
Right.
I know Axl Rose is binged out on some type of, morphine drug somewhere and not singing cool songs.
He has enjoyed his rock and roll lifestyle. That's for sure.
More power to him. More power to him. I did see he tried to make a comeback, and this is just a couple years ago. And he was still rocking the bandana. He was still rocking the tight jeans, still rocking the pony. I mean, seriously, it was like Axl. He was bringing back the 1980s. And then when I was a huge Guns N' Roses fan growing up. And when he got nominated to the Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, he refused to go. He boycotted it. Now, tell me why somebody would boycott their own Hall of Fame induction.
Well, I don't think he's the only one who's done that. I mean, rock stars and artists and musicians, they can be quite eccentric.
So cute. And
also narcissistic. We had a whole podcast about that. Just think about what it takes to be a rock god. So, I mean, I'm sure I don't know why he did, but it doesn't surprise me to hear it.
No, it was something about the rock, how the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is not fair and equitable.
It's too commercial,
it's too commercial, man. Yeah.
Well, Axel had anxiety problems. Is what his excuse was.
Hasn't he had anxiety problems for 28 years?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I think you're good now, Gino. Tim is talking to you about Priceline. Tim, go back and ask him.
Well, just in case people forgot what we were talking about with that 3-minute rant on me not knowing AC/DC's lead singer, but we're talking about Priceline.
Is that you missed the whole thing. You called him Axl Rose.
I know. Yeah. We first were looking at GILD. We were talking about that bull call, bull put. We'll go back to that in a second.
Yeah.
But then we were looking at Priceline, and it was a trade I had made on Monday. And the day it was the reaction to the earnings, the stock was breaking out, showing strength. Mid-morning, it looked really good. I went on the intraday chart, and I'm like, well, it's at 1320 right now. If I could get this down at 1310, that'll be perfect. And it faded into the close, and I felt like a rock star at the end of the day. I'm like, oh, got my fill at 1310. Well, it just kept going down all week. I mean, the current price of it is like 12. What is it? What did it close at, Matt? 1270? Something like that?
1270.
Yeah, it's been getting crushed all week.
Well,
it's down 40 points from where I played it.
Well, I definitely see a trigger. I mean, on that day, on the 8th, I mean, huge open. Open went from 1280 within the first 30 minutes, was trading 37 points above the open. Lots of momentum. You're waiting for a little bit of a retracement, which is standard. I mean, that's a very standard mechanism because we always see somebody lock in profit, right? And so you're waiting for a little bit of a retracement. You get in at the number that you wanted to get in at, and then it literally fades. It wasn't even a strong movement. It was just faded the rest of the
all week. I mean, it's down 3 or 4% since then.
Yeah.
And one of the people who follow me on Twitter, an old friend of ours, Jeremy Olson, Jeremy asked me the question today on Facebook, and he asked you the same question. In fact, he told me this. He said, hey, Tim, if you got some time, I got a quick question. I placed that trade on and on. What should I do, basically? Mm-hmm. And he said, I asked Matt as well to get his opinion, and I already answered him. You have not answered him yet. And
whatever.
Then you did.
I'm answering him right now.
Right. And we basically said the same thing independently, is that when you're new, you should either just get out of it and not really worry about all those complicated hedging and legging types of strategies. And Gino, this is where I wanted to get your thoughts. If a new trader that you know is just installed their broker software within the last 3 months, and they maybe have taken a class or mentoring or something, if they come to you and they are thinking about doing something complicated, do you continue? Like, do you try to say, okay, go right ahead, and this is how you should do it, or do you counsel them away from hedging and adjusting and things that they may not be ready for yet?
Well, I'm glad you bring that up. Is the main point is what you said is it's a new student, because that is so key, because you can make it so overwhelming that they don't know what they're doing and get really in trouble. But he's in a bull call spread, he said, I believe, right?
Yeah, 1325, 1425 October.
Wow. Now it's a debit spread, bull call spread. And he's in a wide one, right? He's in a pretty big
100 point.
Are you sure it's a 100-point spread he's in?
Yeah, it is. It's on. What was it October T?
Yeah, Delta was like 50-25.
Yeah,
that's perfectly in line. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about standard. I mean, that's only an 8% movement.
Yeah, because it is a $1,200 stock. So that I just want to see what's his net delta on that. What's he got?
It was 0.25, Gino.
Okay, well that's a big spread. So. And that's a big stock to be taken on, even with the spread like a bull call, because that is expensive. He'd probably pay just under $4,000 on that if he did everything right.
Well, let's see. If you're doing it now, let's say similar prices, I would say 45 and 12, 13, 45. Now he's probably paying, probably about $3,000, I'd say.
Yeah, $3,000 per contract. So that's a lot of skin in the game right there. I mean. So one of the rules we use on a bull call spread is if it's a 10-point spread, we don't pay more than 4 points of it, so 40%. So I know he's paying less than $4,000 if he did it right. So right away, I'm already judging this student by he's got money in the trade. I mean, $4,000 in any trade is a good chunk of money. So I don't know how many contracts he did.
I think it was one.
Okay, thank God, one contract. 'Cause if he did like 10 or 15, that could really be a damaging. And that what happens is the psychology of it is, I got so much money in here, I can't lose. And when you tell a brand new student, hey, listen, just put your stop loss in there and take your loss and bite the bullet, right away they go, well, I want you to fix this. And then you start going into, okay, if we're going to fix this, do you have the education to understand what I'm going to say?
Mm-hmm. Well,
so, his short leg is working for him. His short leg is getting profitable. It's his long leg that's hurting. So he could cash out of that short leg and go closer and turn it into a 50-point spread, and now he's only got 1,500 in the game. But here's the thing. Are you going to confuse him with that? And are you going to do something that's really critical I'm going to say right here? Are you going to teach him that there's ways to stay in the trade? Because that is so dangerous in the beginning, is staying in a trade. What you really need to do, and I learned this in a boxing class, is you got to learn to take the punches up front in the beginning.
Yep.
Not later on when you're playing with the big guys. So it's really good if you're a beginner to put your stop in there, and like you guys said, let it play out, hit your stop, watch it unfold, learn your lesson. Because, number one, before you even get in the trade, the number one line of defense is your position size. So if he positioned the size this correctly and he did one contract and he says, yeah, I got $3,000 something in here, and I got my stop at a place where I'm only going to lose 1,000 and I'm happy with that, well, guess what? You didn't make money in the trade, but you still won. You still won because you controlled that trade. And that's the point to get across, is if you're a beginner, hey, you know what? Let's get stopped out. You controlled the trade. You put the stop in. It worked. That's what it's there for.
Yeah.
And so you could go two different ways with it. But, yeah, being a beginner, I like the idea of, you know what? Are you position sized correctly? Did you place this trade correctly? Everything's good. The trade just went against you. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong. Just like when you're trying to block a punch from a boxer. You're in the ring, and I don't know if you guys have ever been in a ring with a good boxer. They'll find an opening. Now, you're going to cover up 80% of the targets, but they'll find an opening, and you're going to get hit. What you got to decide is this. Can I take that hit and still be in the game?
Yeah. Well, I
think
you said two things that are very important. Number one is when you're a new trader, you have to learn how to take a loss. And that's why whenever somebody new sends me an email that says, I'm in this trade, I'm down money, I want to do this, how can I fix it? No, don't fix it. Close the trade. Take your loss. Take your lump, like you say. Because if you're positioned rightly, it shouldn't matter that much. You can take a 1 to 2% hit on a portfolio, but if you stay in that trade on Priceline, it goes down under 1260, it's going to go to 1225, and it's ultimately going to go to 1200. Then at that point, you're only got about $1,000 left in the $4,000. And you're like, oh, well, now I'll just stay in the trade. It's, I'm already down so much money. But even at that, the biggest problem is you got to have a huge movement to the upside just to offset the deltas that you're dealing with at that point.
That's right.
Right.
And you know what, Matt, the whole thing is being experienced and mature of a trader as I am now. I look back on my first 6 years, how immature I was, because I hated getting out of the trade when I was a loser. The first part of becoming a man in trading, the first part of going pro is this. You got to get through what the pros are telling you. You got to learn to take that hit.
Yeah.
And it's really important that what it means is this. You got to learn to get out of the trade. You got to get out of the trade. We were just talking about that. Don't take it to expiration.
Well, and especially if it goes against you initially and you're wrong on your assessment. The assessment was it was breaking out of what was it? It was breaking out of somewhere around 1290, 1300, and it was breaking out of that level. Well, then once it comes right back underneath that level, the reality is you're wrong. You're wrong on your assessment. Just get out.
And you know what, Matt? It's hard for some people to say that, though, that they're wrong.
Well, Lord Almighty, how many times are we wrong, guys?
Well, I know. You studied law school, and you know lawyers never like to be wrong, right?
Oh,
those guys will hold the trade right to expiration Saturday.
Yeah, because lawyers are the worst traders in the history of mankind. Because they have to be right on everything. No, I'm totally kidding. Lawyers, you can be good traders too. You just need somebody like a lawyer to teach you, and that would be me. Now, okay, so that's kind of what we're going to say on Priceline, going back to kind of the picks of the week. that we all had. Tim, you also had one on Gilead Sciences, and you wrote up a review, basically, an assessment of whether you were going to do a bull put or a bull call spread. One is a delta trade where you can make a little bit more money, you have a little bit less probability, versus the bull call spread where you have higher probability, less total return. Now, what was it about Gilead that led you to the assessment to choose the bull call instead of the bull put?
It was bullish.
That's that simple, huh?
Yeah, it was bullish in an uptrend, showing strength. Had a strong candle that day. It was pressing resistance. I liked that it was triggering. Actually, it had a tail above the exact trigger at one point that morning. Felt pretty comfortable with it. Liked the stock. Traded it before. Just felt comfortable with the stock,
honestly,
and like I was saying earlier, I have that mindset that you got to trade, and that was just the one I went with that day.
The only way to make money in this game, guys, is to get your money working. That's it. And I see this trade, although I like Gilead's trend a little bit more than I like Priceline's trend. I like it's a very similar trigger that you did on Priceline, breaking out of a previous resistance area, triggering up above it, and this one caught a lot of momentum, and that's why it's important to take the loss on Priceline, by the way, is so that you have a great trade on Gilead going. If you take a small loss on Priceline, you're making money at the end of the day because Gilead did exactly what you expected, and now it's up right around $5 from the point of entry. That's a 5% movement on a stock, but that's about probably a 50% ROI on the option.
Yeah, the option's working out. By the way, I'm a simple guy. I don't need 38 indicators on my chart. I'm just a simple chartist. I keep it very straightforward. I trigger on price. And maybe I know that I could get a technician so fired up they'd probably start calling me names if I wanted to. I don't have that kind of negative energy though. I'm always about positivity. If they want to do it their way, that's fine. I just keep it simple.
Well, as a technician,
did you develop that?
He's a hippie, Gino. That's just how he is.
No, actually, I ended up starting breaking it down, Gino. Matt thinks I just don't know how to read charts.
He's a terrible technician.
He just teases me about that. But what it really is I did a lot of back testing on studies and indicators, and I guess you look. You know that old thing where if you do something for 10,000 hours, you're an expert? You ever heard that? Well, we've all traded more than that. And because, it's been a passion of mine now for 10 years, and I do it every day. So I just feel like I've seen enough charts in my trading. I don't need the indicators. I know what they look like anyway.
And that's what happens, because I started out with about a dozen indicators on one chart. And I had to have at least 7 or 8 of them pointing in the same direction before I'd take the trade. And you'd never find all dozen lining up. But I actually have students that do the same thing, and it tells me where they're at. They're not comfortable with just reading the chart yet. They need those indicators to back them up. And that's why those software programs with the arrows, buy now, sell now, people like that because it tells them, because they can't read the chart yet. And I like how, Tim, you've gotten mature enough to where you say, you know what, it's bullish. I have my indicators smashed to the bottom of my chart. I try not to look at them because if I can look at the chart and make a decision, isn't it easier than having to consult your indicators?
Well, yeah, and that's the way I feel. In fact, it's funny how trading is. I have so many tools in so many different locations. Like my computer, if it was actually physically manifested, like an old file cabinet, I'd have files and folders everywhere. Because I have websites bookmarked and all these. I mean, I have a million different resources everywhere. And one thing is I use a lot of different places to chart with. And I can tell you from one system to the next, I don't even have the same indicators on those charts. And part of the reason I do it that way is because I want to make I'm a big believer that you should be able to draw a conclusion even from a different kind of viewpoint. And so if you're looking at a chart with MACD stochastic RSI money flow, and then you look at a chart with none of that, but it has moving averages or Bollinger Bands, ATR, implied volatility, historical volatility, you should still be able to see the same basic thing. If you're not, you're overly relying on those tools.
That's exactly, and you know what? That's so true. And what happens is that's another thing that keeps you in the trade is you go, God, my indicators are still bullish. Should I get out or not?
Yeah.
So when what's funny, Tim, is you're more likely to jump into a trade the better you get as a trader. Because you see the opportunity, you see a chart is bullish, I'm in. And what makes you more of a professional trader, which really makes you better than the rest over the years, is that you're also quicker to get out.
Well, I'm not out of that price line yet, so after this talk here today, I'm thinking I should have got out today.
Right, but you know what? I always remember. I always tell these students, listen, you can get out of the trade, take a small loss, because they forget you can always get back in if it turns back in your direction.
Right?
You always get back in.
Well, and my thing was, I was working on my Forex stuff today. I've been working with Jeff Crystal, who's a mentor at Rich Dad Education, and a friend of all of ours. We know him well. And he was actually on our podcast once, so people probably heard of Jeff. And we were going through some automated trading tools, and I kind of just had a plan. Sometimes, Gino, what I do, I don't know about you, but I build a plan when I get in, partly to take some of the emotion out.
Right.
And it hadn't violated my risk yet, and it's close. It's literally within just a few points. But if it's below that on Monday, I'll just take the hit. And I think a lot of it, going back to what you're saying, is when you've traded long enough, you don't have to wait for the stars and the moon to align to get into a trade. One of the reasons is you're going to be right and wrong. You got to get the numbers out there. If you've got an edge in probability, you take the trade. If the credit's good enough, you take the trade. If the stock's breaking out, showing strength, and it's a trigger you've used for years, you take the trade. Now, traders with experience, they know that it may not work out. It doesn't affect me emotionally. I don't know if that means I have no heart or soul, one of the two, but it just doesn't affect me emotionally. I don't think like that anymore.
And that's true. And you know what? A year from now, you're not going to even remember that trade.
No, I won't remember it in a month. I mean, I will when I go back and do my quarterly review. That could be a conversation we have another time. People ask me all the time, when do you go back and look at trades and what kind of records do you keep and that kind of stuff. Maybe we'll have a podcast about that one of these days. I thought we were here just to hang out, though. Why are we talking about trading so much?
It's Expiration Friday. We're supposed to be cracking open some beers and discussing the best part of the day.
Well, what's interesting about that, my friend just submitted his own homebrew into a contest here in Utah. They have a homebrew contest at one of the stores. And the winner will be forwarded into like the American homebrew contest, and he's one of the finalists.
Nice.
Is what I heard. Yeah, he was telling me last night. He knows how to do his own home brews and that kind of thing. So, there are a lot of people out there in this country that do brew their own wine or beer. In some parts of the country, moonshine, which is not legal, but it's an interesting world we live in, Gino.
Oh, I tell you, I know people that will spend $1,000 a month on their different wines and good wines and beers and different drinks and whiskeys and bourbons, but they don't want to take a risk in the stock market. That'd be risky with your money,
right?
Well, they'll drink and go out there in public and be a risk to everybody else and themselves. But stock market, nah, let's not put money in there.
See, what I don't understand are these guys that instead of like having like a really good beer, like getting a 6-pack of really good beer, they'll buy like a 30-pack of shit beer.
Mickey Big Mouth, right?
Yeah.
You guys remember Mickey Big Mouth or was that Meisterbrow?
Well, it's PBR now. All the hipsters are drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon these days.
My God, yeah. And is it about quantity or quality? I'm about quality. I'll take
me too.
Yeah, I like a good beer. It fills you up, high calories. I'd rather have a high calorie, really good stout or porter.
Yeah.
And versus a 6-pack of PBR Light. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, if you're going for the alcohol content, if you're going to do that, just get into whiskey.
Right. If you do, right. Yeah, we're giving people good life advice today, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. We got good drinking advice. We got good trading advice. Now you know where to spend your profits.
That's right.
And real quickly, I can't help but to look at this price line. It did a W breakout. Everything was good on that. And you guys know it came back and tested the middle of the W at 1267. So I just put it on my watch list for Monday.
I hope it tests it, holds it, and then runs for me. But here's the funny thing, though, Gino. If it breaks down below what I had planned on getting out at, I'll get out. I just will. You trade long enough, you take the emotions out.
And also, Tim, do you trade Priceline quite a bit, or is that just something you screen for?
No, I trade it all the time.
See, that's a big thing, because I found out that once you have a favorite watch list, this really makes your life easy. Screeners are good and stuff, and I got some screeners we'll talk about, but I got some great screeners, by the way. But what I do is I have a favorites list for certain strategies, and knowing that you're going to be trading this thing 150 times over the next few months, it's easy to get out because you're like, I only want to get in when I'm right.
Yeah.
You know? And what's neat about that is it's not like you're breaking off a relationship when you get out. That's the thing. People marry their stock and like, oh, I don't want to get out of this thing. It's going to be I don't want to have a bad relationship with this stock. And I know people that say this, and this is such a beginner saying, well, if I get stopped out and I lose money, I never trade that stock again. I just don't even look at it the next day. What, you're that emotionally obsessed with it? You're afraid it's stalking you? You know,
Right.
What you got to do is you got to say, you know what? I'll keep it on my watch list. I'll give it another shot. If it turns in my direction, I'll jump into it. After about 3 out of 5 times it keeps doing that, this is not on my favorite list again anymore. Let's put somebody else in there. So, do you have a favorite list?
I just had a really fun idea that at least I think would be funny. Have you ever seen the movie High Fidelity?
I think so.
Oh, that one of my favorite movies. Hilarious.
You know the scene where John Cusack is standing in the rain, and Catherine Zeta-Jones is his girlfriend, and he yells up at her. Hey, what rating is our podcast, Matt?
It's going to be rating R in here in a second.
I apologize. If you got kids in a car or something, just skip the next 2 minutes. But he yells up, and I don't remember her name in the movie. I think it's Gina, or I think it's Gina, but maybe not. He's like, Gina, you fucking bitch, let's work it out. It's so hilarious.
I don't know if we could do that on the Coach's show, by the way. Expiration happy hours probably out for that.
Right. That's fair enough. But the idea I had was we should do like Vine videos where we make them all funny about like stock market stuff. And I'll be outside and I'll be yelling up at the house. We'll recreate the whole thing. And I'll be like, Google, you fucking bitch, let's work it out.
You should say that to Priceline, actually, not Google.
Yeah, right. That would have made more sense in our conversation.
Yes, it would have.
Well, okay, that makes sense.
You may have to cut all of that out, Matt. You're going to have a judgment call now.
I've already made the judgment call.
Did you push pause or you kept it in?
I don't edit anything.
Well, Tim, you could have also said, hey, Google, you're effing biatch, and everybody would have been okay with that.
Well, here's the thing, Gino, is that I was quoting a movie. So
that's right. It's okay.
You get a pass when you quote something, right? Just good journalistic integrity here.
Right. Yeah.
I think you have. I mean, if you're going to stay true to the scene, if you're going to stay true to the movie, I think you have a responsibility to treat it the way it was supposed to be treated.
Right. Well, I don't know. I'm sure that I'll get a few Facebook messages on that one.
Speaking of which, if Sharknado had a stock symbol, would you trade it?
I would have bought it I would have bought it when they cast Ian Ziering in it and Tara Reid.
Because they're already thinking about number 3.
I would have done it when I watched it, and they threw the PM what is it, the PI Mac, I don't know what they did, but they attached some type of extinguisher to a flare, and as the shark was flying through the air and coming to eat the people in the helicopter, yes, I said that accurately, they threw it and it blew up, and then they threw a whole bunch of them.
Where's the spoiler alert? I haven't seen Sharknado.
No, I don't care, dude. Yeah. I don't care. They already have Sharknado too. You lose all right to the spoiler alert when there's a number 2 out.
This seems like a buy the rumors, sell the news situation. Like when they announce Sharknado, maybe you buy that rumor, and then when the movie comes out, because everybody watched it like the first day, but then nobody's like watching it now, are they?
It's on Netflix.
It has staying power, really?
Yes, I'm not kidding.
What is wrong with our world?
They lasted 6 months before they had to do a new one. I'm not kidding.
Tim, here's the thing though, Is that something you let your kids see, or is that too much of an R-rated movie?
I watched it with my son. He's 12. It was awesome.
See, that's the thing. I don't like my daughter watching Godzilla, but Sharknado, that's fine. That's completely fine.
Yeah.
Because it's so bad that even kids are laughing. You know?
Right.
And that's what's fun about it, is you got
I couldn't let my kids
jumping
watch
across
that.
sharks like it's, Frogger? In the middle of the street. They go, Frogger! And they start jumping across the sharks.
All right, maybe I got to check out this Sharknado thing.
Oh, man.
And it snowed. It snowed for about, 20 minutes in the movie? And then it was back to summer. It was absolutely... They did it on purpose to be so bad in the editing that's what's funny is you're looking around for mistakes.
Hold on. I gotta find some. You guys keep talking. I'm looking.
So, Tim, I'm still curious. Do you have a favorites list, or are you using screeners?
Both. I have both. I trade a lot of the same stocks, Gino, and most of them are the big names you're going to see in the market.
Every professional has their favorites list. Yeah. I'm curious, how big is your favorites list?
It's probably 25 or 30.
Yeah,
I don't think it's as big as, people might think. Here's the thing is that when I do a screen, there's not a stock in the S&P that I don't know already. So it almost feels like that whole index is a watch list. Most of the stocks in the New York Stock Exchange I know. I mean, you don't know everything. There are always new companies. There's new companies that come out with new products and ideas, and they'll come up. But gosh, I got something in my throat. Anyway, when I do a scan, it's because I want to go out and find something that I couldn't find on my list.
Right.
But I start with that.
When I have to go outside my list, but what's nice is I got a screener on Thinkorswim. I build a scan that looks for a setup, whether it's fundamentally or bouncing off the 20. I can actually have it look only in my favorites list. I can say, okay, scan for stocks, and the database is the S&P 500 only. What's nice about it is like when I'm screening for credit spreads, it only looks in my favorites list. So I have a favorites list of about 100 stocks. But what's nice is I don't look at every 100 every day. I run my screener, and my screener looks at those 100. And a lot of times nothing pops up. And then you got to decide, okay, do I go outside of that list? And that's sometimes I don't even feel comfortable going outside of that list. But another thing is certain account sizes. I've got an account now I'm managing that's quite huge, and I don't go outside the S&P 500 because there's no liquidity. I need to be at least a couple million in volume, and I want those options to have volume. So that's nice that I'm sticking with the S&P 500. And if you think about that, that's what the institutions are doing. They're sticking with those big liquid stocks too. Because when they come in there with the volume, they don't want to move it. They want to make sure they get filled. Somebody's on their side of the trade. So when you go outside your list, hopefully not an institution's doing the same thing and doing the opposite, because they will just ruin you. They will just take it out from under you with the volume.
Well, speaking of that then, guys, I mean, how often is it that you get a student that comes to you and they're like, hey, can you look at this stock? And you've literally never heard of it. And it's why are you even looking at this? What?
The first thing I ask them is, if I've never heard of it, is
you shouldn't be trading
it. Do you have a tip on it or something? Do you have a tip on it? Do something you know about it? Because if I've never heard about it, and I've been around 17 years, and you guys have been around many years, and, sometimes you'll get one of these retail companies that you didn't hear about or something, but when you see the volume, it's like 300,000, or the option bid-ask spread is really wide, you got to tell them right away, okay, these guys, you might as well be in the penny stock arena. You got to get out of there.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I usually... What are we watching?
Hold on. I'm trying to get some, just to kind of bring it back. Hold on.
Yeah, hold on.
We got it.
Oh, I couldn't get it. I tried to find the scene.
The high fidelity scene?
Yeah. I can't find it for you. It was too good. But then I got another scene for you though. You gotta watch this.
Get out of the way!
Look at the sharks flying to you. Look at that shark. Look at this. Watch this. He's got the chainsaw. Ian Ziering. Look at that shark, dude. And he goes in the shark. It's so awesome. Tara Reid's crying. Hold on.
The shark just did a hill.
Hold on. The shark flew. Epic conclusion to the movie.
Great acting.
Oh, it's amazing. There we go. He's in the shark.
No, he can't.
He's cutting through the shark, inside the shark with the chainsaw. There's an iron. Is it Iron's earring? I think it's Iron's earring. Get that head out. Be born again. Oh.
Here goes the best part.
Hold on. That's right.
Got some.
He's got to get his friend that was 8 from the helicopter. 8 from the helicopter. Pull the friend out with the chainsaw. Awesome. You just saw Sharknado.
And then they start kissing when they're all covered in shark goo.
That's hot.
Oh my god.
All right, I'm calling BS.
How? Really?
You know what? Nowadays, Tim, anything can happen.
How
There's
could
no
you call
way
BS?
he could start that chainsaw inside a shark.
Dude, that's what you're I'll just tell you, because of that, I am absolutely excited to watch Sharknado 2. Haven't done it yet.
Oh, you haven't watched it?
Not yet. Not number 2. I've watched number 1 a couple times. For those of you who have not seen Sharknado, I strongly recommend it. It's free on Netflix. Post us, tell us your thoughts on Sharknado. This is obviously supposed to be a trading podcast. It hasn't really turned into that, but that's kind of what happens on the happy hour, guys.
Yeah, so this is Podcast NATO.
Yeah. Trade NATO.
Trade NATO. That's a new symbol. Trade NATO. I'm going to start this website.
We're Trade NATO. That's our new podcast name. Welcome to the Trade NATO podcast, both with Iron's earring and sharks flying and trades happening. Let's do this. So you just got your first taste of Sharknado. What do you think?
I'll tell you, I'm sure I would enjoy it. It looks like something I could veg out to.
Is
and,
it dirty
just
enough
turn
for
on.
you?
Yeah.
Well, you see, what's funny, guys, is that was filmed in my neighborhood right over here. A lot of that stuff, I've been on those streets.
Yeah.
And it's so funny to recognize those streets. And you go, oh, my goodness. This is hilarious.
Gino.
My daughter, she goes, did that already happen?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Luckily,
So I'm laughing, and she thinks it's
before her time. Okay.
Yeah.
It did happen. But I'll tell you, there's probably going to be a Sharknado 3 as well. And Gino, maybe you could get an extra on it, man.
It has to be.
You never know. Maybe a shark grab that ponytail, rip you around, throw you into another tornado. You could in midair grab another parachute that is in the tornado, and then finally maybe it lifts me up too, and we finally get to go skydiving together.
No, Gino will be the news announcer that is on CNN or whatever,
Yeah.
telling
It's
people
local
that the
show.
Sharknado's coming in from the coast.
Yeah.
Did you see number 2 with the news? I'm not going to spoil alert for you, but number 2, they used the guys from New York on the news. What's that famous news station? And they make it look really good. That's the best part of the movie. So if you have that going when somebody walks in the room, they'll actually think it's a real news broadcast because it fills up the whole screen. What are those two guys' names? The two newscasters from Good Day LA. Good Day
Michael Strahan and
Kelly Ripa? Is it Kelly?
I don't. Yeah.
Good Day Morning, Good Day something.
Yeah,
Good
and
Day, New York.
they're talking about the Sharknadoes brewing over in New York, and they actually show sharks spinning around in their weather
Is
map.
Sharknado in New York? Is that number 2?
Yeah.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Oh my God! I'm not gonna ruin it for you, but
Oh my God, I'm
one of them
so
flies
sold
to the
right now.
studio and lands in front of him, and he just starts taking it out.
Dude,
He just watched the end scene of the movie. What do we worry? Spoiler alert, we've already watched the end scene of the entire movie.
No, dude, that was number 1.
Oh, that was the first one.
That was number 1. That was LA, man. Yeah, that was the chainsaw scene
And
from
I gotta
LA.
admit, LA was much better. New York was okay. The best part was the news group, but LA was much better. Nobody's gonna top that ending right there.
We're going to definitely get into that. It's absolutely amazing how filthy some of these movies are, and they can just get by because Sharknado is going to be a cult classic. I mean, it's going to be a cult classic. It's ridiculous,
You know
but
the
it's funny
shift
as
is,
hell.
what's been going on is this has been a big thing is we've been hitting the technology so heavily in the last 8 years from the 3D and the quality of, what do they call it? Not only 3D, but the digital graphics in the movies. Video games have just pretty much peaked out with how graphic their video cards are. I mean, video cards like $700 for your computer, right?
Oh, it's made
Now,
fun
by
of
the way,
it
you
for a
don't need
gamer.
that to trade with. You just need the cheap ones.
Yeah, you just need the two. In fact, I had a student who's a Mac student coming from my last event there in Phoenix, and he comes up to me and goes, "I'm not putting that filthy Windows stuff on my Apple." He says, "I'll just go buy one of those virus-infected personal computers for $200 and trade with it. What do you think of that?" And I said, "Sounds like a good plan to me."
Yeah, yeah, but you know that you could spend a lot because it's all been geared up of who's got the best graphics, the resolution. So it's kind of peaked out right now until the 4K TVs start breaking out. But you know what's funny is everything's reverted back to the lower quality now. Like the kids are doing this Minecraft game where it's all squares and really bad quality. There's only a couple different colors. It's like it's going back to asteroids.
Yeah, but Gino, they love it.
Yeah,
I mean,
going back. They're tired of the high technology.
have you
They
seen
got
Minecraft,
peaked
Tim?
out, and they missed the easy stuff.
Minecraft
Same
looks
with the movies.
like before Legos. I mean, literally, and kids cannot get enough of Minecraft. It's the dumbest game I've ever seen in the history of
Well, you know
mankind.
what? It's because they're too confused with all the graphics of the new stuff and too many buttons to push. They can learn it's easy. And now they're doing that with the movies. People are like, okay, that monster looks way too real in Jurassic Parks now.
Tim, Kat, she'll pull up Minecraft on the iPad and just start hitting things. And I mean, literally, she'll just start chopping trees and stuff like that. It's the dumbest game ever. Anyways, where were we with the stock picks here, guys? Did we go through Priceline, Gilead? Did we go through CNX or Sherwin-Williams?
No, we didn't go through the scouting report.
Let's hit a couple of the scouting reports, and then we'll go through some of my plays from last week. Sherwin-Williams here, Gino. You put out the scouting report back about 4 or 5 days ago. And for the last week, Sherwin-Williams, what was it about Sherwin that stood out to you?
Well, here's the thing. The scouting report isn't just a watch list. You got a lot of stuff going behind it. And I hope everybody out there builds their own scouting report. Everybody's got their own way of building their own watch list for the week. I run it usually Friday or Saturday, and that gives me a chance to analyze the picks and put it out before Monday. So if you go to our website and look up scouting report, if you're on that level, you can copy our picks. Now, what's nice in the coaches show, we're going to show you what strategies we use for those picks. So not only do we put the trigger points and where you should put your stop, in the coaches show, we'll show you how to position size, whether you're doing a bull call, a long call, a credit spread, whatever. So there's the how, where, what, and why of everything. So the scouting report, number one is how.
And
How
Gino, real quick, what website is your website you're referring to?
Tackle Trading. If you go to the tackletrading.com, you're going to see on the top there we have the scouting report and the coaches show. And
Gotcha.
every week we throw out the scouting report, and every so often we do a coaches show, and that goes over. Usually we'll go over the scouting report or the pick of the week, and we're also going to open it up to the subscribers and viewers what stocks they would like to go over.
Gotcha.
So now, how is a scouting report built? Screeners, number one, how is screeners, or we have a favorites list. So in the screeners, where are they? That's number two, the where part. Mm-hmm. Thinkorswim, I have some built. I have some built in our proprietary software that we use called Mock Trader. And FinViz, which is a publicly free website. FinViz has some screeners on there. Now, we each have different ways of building our screeners. Me, personally, I put fundamentals and trigger points and technicals in there. I use a lot of trend technicals. And then I go through that list and I weed out the best of the best. And we try to keep it down to a dozen or less. So that way there's not overwhelmingly. You can pick, your favorites out of there. But you don't want to pick one or two. You want to pick a good 5 or 6 out of there because we're not trying to hit a home run on every single one of them. We know if we do a dozen, we're probably going to get about 70% of them that perform, sometimes not. But just because we're putting out the report doesn't mean they're all going to be good. We're just putting the edge in our favor. And usually over time, it's going to pay off. So Number 3, why? Why do we have screeners? Why do we do this? Why do we do it for you? Time. It saves you time. We put the effort into it until you've learned to build your own scouting report. It's easy. You run it, it looks through thousands. The screeners I use look through futures, stocks, options, commodities, everything. And then I decide what to put on there. I push a button, the computer does all the work. Bottom line, it makes life quicker. And lastly, number 4, what? What are we looking for? That comes down to the big thing. If you keep up with our newsletter and you keep up with our website and our tweets and everything that we put out there for you guys, you'll know if we're bullish or bearish on the market. And this week, we're long-term. Markets, if you look at our last newsletter and our last reports and blogs, long-term, the markets hit a bullish setup. They hit their weekly support lines. So I was looking for bullish trades, and I ran a screener called Bull Area. This is where stocks are already above the 20 and the 10 days above the 20, so they're already trending up. But the stock is pulled back, and it's right smack in the middle of the 10 and 20. So basically, it should be on a channel. Then again, the Russell and the Dow are still bearish on a daily chart, even though they did go bullish on the long term. So guess what? There's some bear candidates out there. So every once in a while, you either have to sit on your hands or play both sides. So I had players on both teams. I had players in the Bulls and I had players in the Bears. So I ran both. And then I went into my favorites and ran my credit spread screener. Only found a couple because volatility is low. And then I found some really good ones for cheap options that really did good. Like Amazon. Amazon really good. It had cheap options and it made a big move. And I had a screener for that. So all in all, everything turned out good. Looking at Sherwin-Williams, Matt, you look back on Monday, we got triggered. Our trigger was on Sherwin-Williams, SHW, 209.20, just above Friday's candle. And you see how it hit that? It just blew right through that trigger. So what I did is I set up a trigger to buy a call if it broke above Friday's high at 209.20. Now here's the interesting thing. It broke through, triggered me, and got up to almost 211. I was profitable in the morning, but at the end of the day I was break even. So what do? I left my stop there, and then we had our stops at 206. That's a long ways away. It's over $4 away. Now, I had a 60 delta on there. Now, if you don't have a big account, I tell people go with a 30 delta. But a 60 delta times a $4.20 stop equals $250 risk per contract. Now, I don't like to lose more than $1,000 in a trade, so I did 4 contracts. So if that makes sense, I figured out what the risk. If I had a 30 delta, it would be a $125 risk. If you did a spread, it'd be even better. Long story short, it followed through, and today we are at 212.80. Being in a long call, they do lose value over time, so I do not want to be there Saturday and Sunday. So I took 90% of the position off.
So you locked in some profit on the trade, given we're going into the weekend. It was a short-term trade. You made $3 on the trade, which is about $180 per contract.
About $350, so I'm up to $200 something a contract.
Yeah, there you go. Good trade on Sherwin-Williams. You also had a trade on QIHU, very similar setup to Sherwin. I wouldn't say the trend was as strong, but still a very similar bull retracer in the bull area. Triggered back up, still trading very, very well. Did you stay in this trade, or did you lock in profit?
This one here, same thing. I took most of it off because the market being iffy like it is and looking at the internals, I think we might have a little bit of a sell-off next week. I'm not 100% sure, but the odds are.
Well, let me just kind of talk to that real quick,
It is
Gino.
in the NASDAQ.
Let me talk to that real quick about that. Today I put out my quarterly report concerning my analysis of the S&P 500 stocks. And I do it once a quarter, and I basically analyze every stock in the S&P 500 from a technical analysis perspective. And I'll tell you right now, the number one, and you guys tell me what this data means to you. The bearish trends far outweighed the bullish trends in the S&P 500. Yet the S&P 500 has been going up. You had a lot of neutral companies, but the bearish trends were dominant in the S&P 500. The number one pattern in the market, and it was not even close, was the bearish retracement. A little uptick back into resistance in a bearish downtrend. What does that tell you about the market, number one, and what does that tell you about next week's price action?
That right there tells me the internals are bearish.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So what you're doing is what I call letting your screeners talk to you. The market's telling you. The market's telling you right there what you should be doing and saying, hey, look it. The bearish breakouts, the bearish retracements, the bearish. Look at those versus the bullish retracements. You know, and also now if you look at and really you'll notice that are they 3 letters or 4 letters? Are they mostly S&P or are they mostly Nasdaq? And I'm looking at your
these are all
bullish
Nasdaq.
breakout. Yeah.
Excuse me, these are all S&P 500 companies. But if you guys want to check out my my complete assessment of the stocks in the S&P 500, I list them out from pattern recognition, basically breakouts, retracements, extended patterns, both from the bullish and the bearish side. Check out the website once again. You can check that either out at tradingjustice.com or at tackletrading.com as well. Coming back to your trade here on QIHU then. So you locked in profit coming into the weekend, which is something you kind of one of your standards. And then the last trade I want to talk about is one of your bear stocks here on Console Energy, CNX. This was also one of your picks in the scattering report. What thoughts on this one? You're still in it. Did you get out of it? Kind of how did you process that?
You know, CNX, that was one of my bearish, what I was looking for is something that was already in a bearish trend. What I like about CNX is it made a nice bullish run for the first part of the year, peaked out about 48, and it broke down from 46. It went into a little bullish pullback and broke down and never saw the light of day for about a month and a half, 2 months. And what happened is it got overextended on the Bollinger, came back up to the 20, and just hit it right at the 20. Now, I was looking at entering down around 39 sometime. I believe it was 39. Let me look at my report here. 39 and a half. So if it gets down below 39 and a half, that would be the trigger. It did a nice swing high. And really, Matt, what I was looking at is a long first wave down. It had a long wave, a dead cat bounce up to the 20, and it went below the 200-day even. And so this is what we call a dead cat bounce or wave 2. Wave 2 means it's a first wave is big. What I like about catching the second wave is if it makes a third wave down, which is the next wave I'm catching here, it could be big.
Well,
third wave could be big.
I'll tell you what I like about this trade here on CNX. Number one, you can still make it. Even though the market went up this week coming into those resistance areas, this one kind of hovered around its 20-day moving average. It did get underneath its 200-day moving average. That's a battle zone. That's trench warfare for the buyers and sellers. It got underneath that, set a lower low about 38.50. I love the trend. I love the pattern. I love the entry. What I love about it the most, though, is the timing on the entry is so good. You have very, very little risk. I mean, you got a stop loss up above 40.50. You're right back up above this little high there. You're up above the 200-day moving average. I mean, you're risking about a dollar in a contract. That's going to be about $60 per contract. That's nothing. That's very good risk. And also,
it's such a good setup that right now that, Matt, I'm actually carrying it over to next week's scatter report.
I was going to say, I would think this would be one you want to carry over.
Yeah, and I'm going to actually add to my position at 39. If it breaks 39, because it got down to 39.16. If it triggers below that, look out below.
You know, I'm looking to go, to be honest with you, I'm looking to, because of my assessment this week on, you know, where we're at in terms of, you know, all the bearish retracements. You know, I'm thinking of adding 5 or 7 different bearish retracement stocks to the portfolio next week. And I'll probably be carrying a fairly significant bearish delta next week.
Right, and another reason I like this one is it's in the energy sector, and they've been bearish. They started breaking down.
Yeah.
So it was one of my top picks in the energy sector. Quite happy with it. This trade alone and Sherwin-Williams made up for the ones that got stopped out early.
Okay, now, Tim, I want to bring you in, and I want to talk about some of the picks I've had in the last week. First and foremost, I'm not going to cover the IWM trade that much. Most people know exactly what I'm doing with IWM. It's how I'm hedging against market risk. And every time it sets resistance, I reallocate. All short-term, you know, week to 2 weeks in trades. My full expectation on IWM is it's going to touch right around 108.50 again. I'm going to keep on holding the trade until it does that. What do you guys think of that?
I like shorting small caps. The IWM has had relative weakness. If you're going to make a bear play on the market, this is one. It's higher beta. It's higher volatility. You're going to catch a bigger run. I know that it's come up recently. Bear retracement. The candle today was pretty ugly.
I thought I was golden this midday today. I mean, I thought it was absolutely golden. And then it gave back up all its gains today. But I was telling Gino, some of the other contracts I entered in back here, I actually pulled off at literally the low today. So I pulled off a few contracts at the low today, and I re-entered into some other little longer-term trades here. This is a longer-term position that I'm just kind of manipulating in and out of. And it's one of the reasons I've done it, guys, is I think people are billing on small caps. I think hedge funds are billing on small caps. I think institutions are billing on small caps. I think there is a rush to safety, a flight to safety with the blue chip stocks out there, and I think that's even kind of turning around to a lesser extent. So that's kind of how I'm doing. But I do have two bullish trades that I want to get Tim's assessment on one and Gino's on the other one. Tim, I entered this one in about 2 weeks ago, right on the breakout right here. I'm still in the trade. Looking at the Marriott breakout, obviously the breakout was solid, but I kept it through the entire retracement. What do you think of that?
So you held it through the retracement and then eventually got paid off and let it run?
Well, yeah. I'm underneath the pivot point here. My stop loss is underneath there. It's right around at $63. I did not adjust it up on the breakout. So I kind of just let my stop loss do its work. And now I've trailed up the stop loss to about $66. So, at the very worst, I got a break-even trade.
Goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I mean, you trade your plan. You had a plan going in. You executed it. It keeps the emotions out. That's what good trading is all about. You didn't reinvent your plan. Stock was above support and at the 50-day moving average. You're fine. Yeah, great. I think it's a good job.
Yeah, and then the last one I put out there, I put a video out there at the website just a couple days ago, was the Disney breakout right here. Disney breaking out of about a month-long high base breakout scenario, and my assessment was Disney's taking over the world one princess party at a time. I'm not stopping the trade. I got call options on it. I'm pretty aggressive on the bull side. So on this one here on the stock pick, obviously working out so far. And I have not adjusted the stop loss. Still right around 85. Current stock price at 89. I am targeting $90 on it, and if it gets to $90, I'm going to pull off half the contracts at that point. So we're inching up there, but I think what you guys are seeing, and from the picks that we had out there at Tackle Trading this week, both in terms of the stock, the scouting report Gino puts together on a weekly basis, also in terms of the videos that I do and the posts that Tim does. Overall, guys, a very, very good week. Congratulations on your week.
Gotta love it.
Yeah. Gotta be. Always got to be looking to next week too. That's one thing about trading is there's no rest.
No rest for the weary.
For traders, whatever the saying is.
No, there isn't.
But I mean, even over the weekend, I'll be reading some newsletters. We're gonna put out the Tackle Trading newsletter over the weekend as well. Post it up on our websites, have people read that. So you're always planning, always looking forward to it. That's one of the things I love about markets, though. I mean, it's engaging, and I like it. I love trading. So, if you're out there and you're listening to these podcasts or watching our videos or, reading my blog posts or whatever, I mean, find a niche in trading that just fascinates you. That's one of the most important things you can do. I know that we do a lot of options, but it could be Forex or futures as well. If you're new, Matt, you don't have to trade options. You could trade something else.
We trade options because we like leverage and we like to, be a little more efficient with our money. We like the flexibility the options market, kind of gives us. But at the same time, all of the triggers are all based on the stock. Everything we talked about was based on the breakout on the stock because options are derivative. Next week in the market, guys, looking forward to some economic reports next week. You got the FOMC meeting minutes. You got the CPI report. You have manufacturing data, and you have a speech on Friday by our, I'm now going to say Emperor Janet Yellen. Big week in the market, guys. What are you expecting? We got the Jackson Hole Symposium again next week as well. So huge week in the market. What are you looking forward to most?
Oh, probably the number one something from the news and the expected economic reports. I mean, anytime the Fed has something to say, whether it's data-driven, so that manufacturing index is important. Obviously, the minutes, they haven't been market movers.
Not
I
as
personally
much. Not
look
as much.
forward to the day, though, when they release the minutes, because I like reading them.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's 25 or 30 pages, and most people don't actually go through and read them. But, I mean, part of the thing is people ask me a lot of questions. So as a teacher, I want to know, I have a curiosity to want to know everything the Fed says.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll go through and read those minutes, and you can find them on the Federal Reserve website.
Well,
Right.
and one of the reasons why I feel so comfortable carrying all my trade things, I only legged out of a couple trades today. But one of the reasons is we don't typically get a lot of economic data on Monday. And that's the case this week as well. They usually start on Tuesday. I'm looking forward to the minutes. I agree. I think it's a major economic report. It's a market driver, even though we haven't seen as much movement in the economic reports recently as we had even a year ago. But I'm looking forward to the Jackson Hole Symposium. That has been a standard Fed meeting the last 2-3 years. Bernanke started it, and every now and then they go into Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and they sit down for 2-3 days, and they basically plan about how they're going to take over the world. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of Jackson Hole. The Fed has had a plan since December of last year. They've executed that plan really, really well. Do they modify that plan based on the activity in the market? Do they modify that plan based on what they've been dead wrong in unemployment, the labor market? Do they modify the plan then? So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a big deal. But the minutes and the symposium, Yellen giving that speech on Friday at 10 o'clock, I think that's going to be a market burner as well.
Absolutely. And also, don't forget, guys, there's the news we don't know about.
Yeah,
this thing with Iraq and
yeah.
Ukraine is going to, over the weekend, that could start off
Well,
volatility.
Yeah, I agree with that, Gino. I mean, one of the reasons the market spiked down today was, and I know it gets frustrating as a new trader, guys, but the more you do this, the more you just accept it as part of trading and investing in general. But there was news that came out that Ukraine had blown up some type of rebel force, truck or something like that, and all of a sudden the market spikes down, and then it responds back up. So, that geopolitical situation definitely in the crosshairs there. And you're right, Iraq and what's happening in Ukraine can spark. We'll know a lot about how the market's going to open up on Sunday, though, when we start seeing the futures market open up and the currency market open up. So we'll have opportunities to hedge if we need to, or enter if we need to then as well. We're going to do another podcast probably tomorrow with Steve. Steve's going to come on and do a podcast, and we'll probably do one on market preparation on Sunday as well. So look forward to that as well. Tim, do you have any parting thoughts?
Well, I did get a request on Monday from a few of our regular listeners to give my top 5 players to draft in fantasy football
Lord.
this year.
Okay, let's do it. Top 5. And are you really just going to do top 5? Give me LaShawn McCoy. Give me Adrian Peterson. Give me, are you going to do that? Or are you going to give us some real good ones?
Well, I'm going to give you the 5 guys that I want to have on all of my teams. And
Gotcha.
I'm going to try to do it, broad-based positions.
Okay.
At
Number one guy.
quarterback.
Who's your number one guy? Give me your number one guy you got to have.
Okay. Are we talking? You want to go
No,
position by
don't.
position, or do you want to?
No, give me your number one must-have guy.
For a redraft, which means you're playing this year.
Yeah.
My number one guy is Alshon Jeffrey.
Alshon Jeffrey. You probably get him in second, third round, right?
Yes.
Second, third round. You might have to reach for him. He's a hot name. Very hot name.
I am a lifelong Bears fan, through and through. It's not just fandom, though. That kid is amazing.
He's a talent. No, I agree.
He catches everything, and their offense is going to be a lot better this year, too.
Cutler, I think, is going to have a fantastic year. Brandon Marshall is a beast of a player. They got Bennett at tight end, and let's face it, they got Matt Forte as one of the top 5 running backs. Their offense is going to be absolutely explosive this year. I don't think they can double team a lot, or they're just going to dump off to Bennett or Forte. I agree with your assessment 100%. I think Alshon Jeffrey is going to have over 1,200 yards and double-digit touchdowns.
Second guy I put on my list, and I didn't try to just do first-round guys. I know that
he's
you
a
won't have to
second, third.
take all these guys in the first round.
Right.
But the second guy I put on my list is Jordan Cameron, tight end for
Jordan
the
Cameron.
Browns.
Browns had a great year last year, little breakout star. I'm gonna tell you, I'm concerned about Cameron. I don't think he's gonna have as good a year as he did last year, but I can understand why you're hot on him. Tell me why you're hot on him.
First of all, this is my list, not
I know.
yours. I don't
Oh,
need your commentary.
you're gonna
I
get
already
it
know who I'm
anyways.
drafting.
You are definitely gonna get it anyways. Say whatever you want. Now tell me why you think he's gonna have a good year.
Well, they got that kid Josh Gordon who's suspended now, and I just honestly think Cameron's the second best offensive player on that team. And so now,
Well,
instead
Johnny
of those
Manziel's
balls
the
that went
best
to Josh,
player. Johnny Manziel's the second best player, and Johnny Manziel is the third best offensive player on that team. So he's got to
Oh.
be fifth.
most hyped player I've seen come out of college
Since Tim
in
Tebow?
years. Yes,
Yeah,
Johnny Manziel. I'm taller than Johnny Manziel.
yeah, but you don't
right.
get the ladies he does.
He can stack that cash and chase women. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I don't know.
Listen, I've heard what you're going to say a million times. They're going to miss their number one receiver, so there's going to be a lot more balls to go around. Here's the problem with that assessment. They also don't have to double team anybody. And so Cameron is going to get a double team. He's going to have a linebacker chuck him. He's going to have a safety over the top. That's not a good thing to have Josh Gordon out of the lineup. I actually think it's a negative.
I love Cameron. Pick him up. I'm picking him up in all the leagues I can.
You
Get
should
him
be
in.
able to get him in round 9 or 10, I would say.
It depends on if you know the thing about drafting is you never know. Somebody
Somebody
likes
might love
somebody
him.
enough.
Yeah, somebody might love him, no doubt.
They'll pony up and go get him.
Number 3.
The number 3 guy I put on my list as a must-have for this year, Aaron Rodgers.
He's beast mode. I mean,
I know
love
that.
Rodgers.
I believe me, and it all depends on. Here's the thing about quarterbacks. It all depends on your league rules. If you play in a league that doesn't have a lot of high quarterback points for touchdowns and stuff, you probably don't need to take a Rodgers or a Manning early, and you could get by, late with Kaepernick or Russell Wilson or one of 10 guys. But Rodgers is a stud, and the
think there's a
NFC North
vast
is
difference
becoming a
between those.
track meet.
Yeah.
I'm an NFC North guy, and the Vikings, the Bears, the Lions, throwing the ball, man. They're all throwing the ball now. It used to be the black and blue division. Now everybody's got passing offenses. And so I think that you're going to see a lot of high scoring out of Green Bay this year, and that Aaron Rodgers, I think he's in for a real big bounce back year.
Love Rodgers. He's a bad boy, man. As Stephen A. Smith from First Take ESPN say, he's a bad man. Love Aaron Rodgers.
And the thing is, they say in fantasy football that you don't really win your league by who you draft early.
You can lose
because
it.
most people are pretty good early. But I think you can lose it. I think that you could screw it up.
You've lost
so you
a
have
lot
to
in
go
your
in with a
life. You would
plan.
know.
But it's always fun. My number 4 guy on my list comes at the running back position.
Okay.
Who do you think it is? Not a first-round
Okay,
guy. Think deeper value type of guy.
Okay, so we're not talking first few rounds.
No. Late in the draft that you're going to sneak him out.
No, it'd be Bush. If it was anybody on Detroit, it would be Bush's backup. Let's see. Later in the draft, pick him up.
He's your guy. New York Giants. Rashad
Jennings, man.
Yeah.
You're going to have to get him in the 5th round.
I love
pub,
the
man.
kid. He's got a shot to be the guy this year.
Yeah, I'm high on
Never
him.
had a shot in his life. And you can get a starting running back in the 5th or 6th round where you usually have to draft him in the 1st or the 2nd. So I think you're
it's
getting good value there.
I think he's 3rd round value. You can get him in the 5th, maybe even the 6th. And your boy's out. Sad story about David Wilson. But hurt his neck. He's out.
We're
by the way,
boring Gino to death, I bet.
I don't care. I told you to
No,
dump him
I'm
last
writing down
year.
your picks. I kind of like them.
Yeah, I love Rashard. I love Rashard. I think he's going to have a great year. I think he's over 1,000 yards. High 8, 9, 10 touchdowns, I'd say. But here's what I love about him. PPR league, he is going to catch 60 balls this year. Mark it down.
Yeah.
Mark it down. He's going to
probably.
catch 60 balls this year. Eli Manning is going to be king dump-offville. Love Jennings. Love my team. Good value. What's your last one?
I'm going to give you a late round guy. Usually you pick up kickers and nobodies, second defense. I want to put down the name James White.
Running
back.
Yeah.
Running back for the New England Patriots.
James White.
You get him like at the very end of your draft. You don't even have to, take him early. Just when you're usually wasting picks, look for his name.
It's a crowded backfield with Ridley and Vereen. But
we're talking 15, 16 rounds.
No, I'll tell you right now, if anybody, you can't trust Bill Belichick with Vereen and Ridley. Bill Belichick hates Ridley, and I do think Vereen's good, but I think James White's great value late in the draft. He's going to get some pull.
Well, he's playing with the first team in practice, and he's getting reps.
They like him,
like
it
you
seems
said.
too.
Any running back in New England could end up being the starter. You never know. So it's funny how they go up there. Yeah, those are my five.
Yeah,
five fantasy football guys.
Not only are you guys getting just absolutely fantastic financial education on the Trading Justice podcast, you're also getting Tim's top 5 fantasy picks. Wow.
Very diversified he is.
Oh, he is a well-rounded hippie. I'll tell you that. All right. Gino, last words, buddy.
Well, just waiting for next week. With the news out, I just can't wait for this Russian-Ukraine stuff to be over in Iraq because it's trumping all of the indicators we read and all of our picks anyway. Mm-hmm. But I definitely am looking for the market to take a direction. It's at a critical point. If we get a close below 1950 on the S&P, and we got a pretty good volume today, but for a second there, I thought we started our kiss to death. Watching for NASDAQ to give a swing high.
I read your
full bears ahead.
I read your critical report on the S&P 500. I thought it was very well done, and I agree with you 100%. I think we are at a critical stage in the marketplaces. Obviously, we all have our assessment. We all have our bias. At the end of the day, we got to trade what we see, and I think that's what you're talking about, Gino, and that's one of the frustrations when we get these geopolitical situations that you can't determine the probabilities. We can't determine what ISIS does in Iraq and how we respond to it. We can't determine, if Ukraine is going to blow up a transport ship again. We can't determine those things. And so it throws off our indicators, it throws off our probabilities. But at the end of the day, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I see significant opportunity in the market. I think we are going to pop one way. If we do start going up, I think it's going to fade up. I don't think it's going to be strong. And because I think for the bears out there like me, I'm a little bit of a bear right now. For the bears out there, even if we're wrong and it pops up, it's going to give us a lot of opportunity to adjust the way we need to. But if it does pop down, guys, it could pop hard.
You've been listening to the Trading Justice podcast. If you've enjoyed yourself and think that the conversations and topics we've covered are important, help spread the word. Give us your feedback. 5 stars on iTunes, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. The Trading Justice podcast is proudly sponsored by TackleTrading.com. Get off the sidelines and get in the game.